Welcome to the Sports Card Lessons Podcast. I'm your host, Big Ken. Whether you're watching on YouTube or listening on a streaming service, please like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you'll be notified whenever I drop any new content. Welcome. Thanks for being here. Happy Saturday. Special Saturday episode. I'm actually between shows on the weekend, right? So yesterday I walked the White Plains show at the County Center in Westchester. And tomorrow I'm setting up at a show in Danbury, Bill and Billy's show in Danbury. So instead of rushing home tomorrow to try to, put a podcast together and maybe feeling run down or not having the energy, I figured, you know what, I'm going to try something a little different. I'm gonna put one out on a Saturday, right between shows. So yesterday I headed down to White Plains, Westchester show. I made arrangements with my guy Jonathan at Homer Sports Cards to meet up for an early lunch before the 1:00 early bird admission, which is kind of cool because almost right across the street from the county center, there's a diner. So I was able just to park in the regular parking lot. And here's just like, I'm just going to throw that out there. Unless they changed it, which I don't think they did. So there's the parking lot that's, I guess if you're facing where you're walking in to the right across the street, there's a parking lot to the right there. So I got there early. We met up at like 11:30. And when I went to park, it was only $8 to park. The last two times I've been to that show was $15 to park. So I guess just going early, right, was a savings of $7 because when I came back to go get my car, I saw a sign up saying event parking $15. So I was happy to get into the lot at $8. A little bit of a walk, past the county center to the diner. Yeah, a little bit of savings, right? Always helps. Always a great time meeting up and hanging out with my guy Jonathan. And also Rich at Zwittlebug Cards. He made the trip down too. Didn't make it for the early lunch, but met up with us at the show itself. And it's funny how you can go to a card show with friends, right? And with a few minutes of walking through the door, you're completely separated. No matter. And I talk about it all the time. I'm meeting up with people, going to this show, that show. But as soon as we walk in the door, right, it's like, and because this is on my mind, it's like Severance, right? It's like, boom, we're completely different world now, right? As soon as we go through and nobody, and this is the only thing I ever do with people, right? I go places with people. We always stay together. You go somewhere, you stay together. You're together mostly the whole time. This is the only one you go to a show. The only time you're together is in the car on the way there and on the way back. And you may run into each other every now and then throughout the thing, and share your pickups or say, hey, I saw this guy had something you might be looking for or something like that, or maybe a text or a phone call throughout the show. But when you walk in the show, you're completely separated. And I say this all the time. Everybody hobby's a little different. We're all looking for different things, and we all do shows differently. But during that show, it's every man or woman for themselves, right? Oh, man. Shout out to my man David at Wax Stars. I ran into him at the show, and as promised, I saw him at the last show. He had given me a hat a couple years ago, the Wax Stars hat, and I wasn't wearing it at the last show. And hats only last so long, right? So I said, I think I need a new one. And as promised, he was waiting for me to show up with my brand new hat. So I was excited about that. Appreciate the hat, and always great to see him as well. So let's jump into the episode. I'm calling today's episode Profit Over Greed. So getting ready for the show, I put a plan together that I was going to sell my Paige Bueckers cards. These are cards I got into a year ago when everybody was focused on Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese and Cameron Brink, right? I was buying Paige Bueckers, Juju Watkins, Kiki Rice, Hannah Hidalgo, even some Madison Booker. Little bit of Flau'jae Johnson too. Kind of zigging when everybody is zagging, right? It wasn't that I wasn't buying Caitlin, because if you've been here long enough, you know I was in early on Caitlin and never stopped with Caitlin. And I just felt everyone around me is caught up. It's like no matter who I know now, they all own a Caitlin Clark card. Even Jonathan yesterday at the show bought his first Caitlin Clark a Caitlin Clark card, right? So it's almost, I think everybody owns a Caitlin Clark card now. Who would have thought? And you've heard my plan here for months, especially with Paige. Bought those cards early, held on to those cards. We're going to hold them all the way till March Madness, right? Because this is where I was going to cash out on these cards. But she really hasn't done that much to create that much hype around her. And two things are going to happen in the next couple of weeks. We know the tournament is just starting. Actually, UConn's playing today at 1:00, and I'm going to be finished this in time to watch the game. I'm sure it's going to be a blowout quick, and then I'll put this all together and upload it for you this afternoon. But I think two things are going to happen in the next couple of weeks with this tournament. Her market is going to go down, right? Because UConn doesn't do well in the tournament, or she gets injured, or there's just really not enough hype around her to sustain her market. Or her cards are going to go up because UConn did well in the tournament. She played great and created enough hype for her prices to go up. I think with her prices, what happened is they shot up early, like August, September, right? Because people in their mind are thinking she could be the next Caitlin, right? Let's buy up a bunch of her cards because she's going to be the number one draft and she's going to do all this stuff. And UConn plays a very different game. They're better than most, and when they get ahead, they sit there star players. Gino rests them all the time. He'd rather be developing other players when the game is out of hand versus a lot of these other ones that leave their starters in the whole time, put up a lot of points, and do a lot of things. So for whatever reason, right, there just hasn't been that much hype around her. So the people who bought in early, right, just started saying, I don't see it. I don't think, and I'm just going to sell those cards. Let's just sell those cards. And it really just diluted the market for the most part. The market never really went as high as most people expected with that, right? So this week I'm looking at the cards I've been setting up at shows. You know the shows I've been setting up at. I've been putting these cards in the show, and people come in and be like, "Oh, Paige, oh, what a beautiful card! Wow, really that expensive? Oh, okay, thanks." Nobody really wanted to take that chance or make that investment in her. I understand it, and because at this point, over the last 2 months, I wouldn't have put that money out. I've seen Paige cards in a lot of cases, and I'm like, yeah, that's. I'm not taking a chance on putting that investment out in case things don't go well, because I could lose money quickly on that. So again, I'm into these cards a year ago, right? So compared to today's value on these cards, I'm into these cards between 20 and 30% compared to what 100% of the comps are today. So I need to make a decision. Do I look at my profit margin and say, hey, I can sell these cards 80, 85% and choose to profit, cash out from where I'm at? I've done very well with these cards. Guaranteed money and money I can reinvest back into new inventory. Or do I hold, AKA the greedy guy on the other shoulder here, and saying, these could go up. They could jump up. This is the time. You waited this time. Why are you cashing out now? Wait another week or two. Things could go up. Let's ride the tournament, right? And hope UConn does well and our market goes up. And if you've been listening all along these last few months, even though I'm a UConn fan, I live here in Connecticut, I've just had an uneasy feeling about her. And I felt to myself, and I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is. What I think I do know, or not what I think, what I do know is she's not lightning in a bottle like Caitlin Clark was. Nor do I think her market will spike as much as Caitlin's did. I think even if she goes out in this tournament and plays very well, I don't see her card market, her pricing of her cards to go up that much, because the pop counts on all these lower ends, these pinks, these refractors, these X-fractors, these, base, all these Bowman U cards. There's so many of them out there. So many of them out there. So now we have to get into the higher end cards. Kind of what I had, a handful of these higher end cards. The green to 99 PSA 10, the gold to 50 PSA 10. These type of cards. How much higher can they go? Even if they do spike up, I just don't think there's enough room. But I could be wrong. I could be wrong, but I think I'm right. They're going to go up maybe $50 more, maybe $75, maybe $100 more, but there's not going to be a 30, 40, or 50% jump in her cards. I could be wrong, but I think I'm right. And I have my finger on the pulse of the hobby when it comes to these cards. I'm watching these prices daily on a number of women's NCAA basketball players. And there just hasn't been enough love for Paige like there was last year with and I'm going to I could exclude Caitlin out of that and put Angel Reese and Cameron Brink in there, right? I mean, it just where that their market was rising up. I think what happened with Paige is her market jumped up there and then just stopped. And I don't think there's that much more room to go. So why am I going to take a chance? I think I've gone as far as I can with this. Why am I going to take a chance for a few more dollars when things could go completely opposite way, where all of a sudden it could just drop, the market could come out? I mean, she could get injured. Somebody else could step up and they'll say, oh, they're the next number one, and people are like, oh, everybody's out on Paige now. Maybe Paige plays terrible, and I don't know. She could just go out and play as she's been playing all year, and UConn with their game plan can go out and just keep moving along in the tournament. I don't think that's going to do enough for her cards. I don't think that's going to do enough for her cards. I believe this year's tournament star, I think the star of this year's tournament is going to be Juju Watkins. I honestly do. I would be surprised if they wasn't. Some of the other standouts, Kiki Rice, Lauren Betts, Hannah Hidalgo, right? Names I've been talking about. I've been for months on here. Players that I'm getting. Not that I'm pumping up this market at all, because these players still have another year or 2 years before they'll go to the WNBA, right? But I know yesterday I'm at the show. I see one really nice autographed Juju Watkins PSA 10 card. And I said, hey, how much? I'm not really selling that one, but it's in the case. It's got to have a price. And then I look up and I'm like, oh, the last one sold at $495 or $499, something like that. They're like, yeah, we're at 2K. I'm like, okay, I understand. The only really nice Juju Walk, I saw a number of cards there, but the only really nice one I saw, right? And somebody was asking, 4 times what the last comp was on the card, right? And this is somebody else like myself who follows these players, who knows what they're doing, who's looking at this tournament saying, I have a feeling I know who's going to do very well in this tournament. And this is their time to shine. And I really think Juju's going to do very well. I think Kiki Rice is going to do very well. And like I said, Lauren Betts, Hannah, I think they're all going to do very well. I don't see the same. I don't think there's enough room in the market for Paige Bueckers. Just me. And UConn in USC, they're in the same bracket. They're USC 1, UConn number 2, so they can meet each other. I mean, it could be a very good game, right? With Juju against Paige, but even then, I think Paige has everything to lose and Juju has everything to win at that point with that matchup. Is there enough room for Paige cards to go up? No, I don't think so. So for me, I put a plan together going to a show that I know people are going to pay pretty strong. I know the show, right? I know there's a lot of repack competition that comes to this show. And as far as buying, I got there early on Friday when people had a lot of cash. I was there when the doors open. People had a lot of cash and they're ready to buy, right? And I sold all but 3 of my Paige Bueckers cards. And the only reason I didn't sell the other 3 was that one I wanted to hold. I just wanted to hold. Just one I was going to hold. And it was the blue PSA 10. It was the it was blue. It was numbered to 299. It had the nice color match. And I said, you know what? I think I'm just going to, because I looked at the price on that card and I said, you know what? I could just hold this card. Another one had a little bit more sentimental value. It was the March Madness, numbered to 10. And again, when you're looking at a comp and at a card like that, I mean, there's only 10 of those cards to begin with, right? And the one I have was a PSA 9, and there was a 10 that sold for somewhere around 300, and a couple people were saying, well, we're going to do the reverse multiplier, like, because there's none of these other ones that sold, so we're going to value the card at like $80 or $90 or something. I'm like, yeah, I'm good. I'll hold it. I mean, even if it was just sentimental value to give it away at that much or value it at that and then go to 80%, I said I'll just hold on to it. And I don't mind having a couple cards, right? I could put a couple of cards in my case now. I've done so well on all the other cards. I can throw these 3 cards in my case and still represent, the hometown or the home state girl, right? But I sold all the cards at 85%, and people are back and forth, and I'm paying stronger on this and that. And I'm like, look, I know the comps. I look at them every day. If you can be at 85%, I can be at 85%. We don't have to. And you know me, I don't want to go through this whole, let's go back 90, 88, 83, 80. No, I don't want to do that. Let's pull out our pen and our sticky notes, and this is the price on this. Boom. Okay. Move it over. This is the price. Move it over. Right. 85. This is where we're at. And as soon as we got to 85, they're like, well, let's round down. No. Oh, look, I'm good at the 85. I could do a 7, an 87. I don't have to bring that down to 50. So I chose profit over greed on that, and I stuck to what I wanted. I knew what I could get for those cards, and you know what? Sleep like a baby. I'd be excited. I'm a UConn fan. I'll be excited if Paige comes out and tears it up, right, and does very well, and her market goes up. And I'd be excited for the people who bought my cards, right? They were as excited to buy those cards at 85% as I was to sell them at 85%. So it was a deal that went well on both sides, and both people were smiling and both people were shaking hands, and I'm walking away happy and they're staying there happy. You know what? I really like when a deal works out that way. I really do. And there didn't need to be a whole bunch of negotiation on there. I went up, I stated what I wanted. They agreed. Let's get it done. And honestly, my thought at this point, I think those cards become hot potato, right? People taking a chance on these cards because of the name and not really knowing the sport or watching the players or, you know, I mean, there's a lot of people that just say, "Oh, Paige Bueckers, is she going to do it? What do you think? What do you?" And I'm like, "Well, did you see the game? No, I don't watch any of that. I'm just curious, you know." And then they're buying her cards, right? And I know they're buying the name. Um, and at some point, somebody's going to be left holding those cards when the market drops out. We know it happens all the time in every market with any player that has potential or name recognition, right? We see it all the time, and these cards are going to become hot potato, and someone's going to be left standing there holding those cards when they go down, because I know in my heart of hearts, right? There's no way that she has a market anywhere near Caitlin Clark's market. And that's the valuable lesson here. It's the lesson that I've learned in this hobby, buying cards of players that I don't watch in a sport that I don't follow. And this has happened to me so many times over the years. And I have episodes about this, and you hear me talking about this, right? I haven't said it in a while. And sometimes I have to say it back to myself. I have to look in the mirror and tell myself, because I'm in this situation right now, stay in your lane. Stay in your lane, right? Uh, I definitely find comfort in my lane. I find comfort if I have if I'm selling a product that I know so much about, everything about that product, right? It's the easiest sale. But if I'm selling a product I know nothing about to somebody who knows more about the product than I do, it never seems to go well. Um, so I definitely find comfort in my lane. And surprisingly enough, and I just mentioned this, that I'm going through this now, is I have more in value basketball cards in my case right now than football, right? And basketball is not my lane. And it makes me a little nervous because I don't follow the sport. And I have a card in there, and somebody's like, "Oh, didn't he get hurt?" I'm like, "Oh God, I hope he didn't." Well, I would have no clue because I don't follow basketball, right? And I don't follow the players. Right? I have the name. I know the name. I have the name recognition, and that never seems to go well. It never goes well for me. Um, and I bought these cards because of the players' names. Uh, Now they've been in my case for a couple of shows, and it reminds me why I probably shouldn't have bought these cards. And people will say all the time, and I agree with it. But then when I'm there, I'm like, why did I do this? Right? They'll say, I'll buy any card that I know that if I get in at a certain price that I can get out, like I can make my 10 or 15 or 20% on a card. And I agree with that. I do. So when somebody comes with a LeBron James or a card like that, I'm looking at it. I'm like, okay, well, here's the price. I mean, it's LeBron, right? It's a LeBron rookie card. It can't lose value. One of the things I like to do is through Card Ladder is I go, look, how many times is this card sold? I mean, is it selling all the time? Is it a liquid card? It is. It's a liquid card. They're selling a lot. Now, are they selling a lot and the price is, all over the place, or selling a lot, going up and down 40, 50, $100? I'm not going to have to worry. No, it's meeting all my criteria. I buy the card and I put it in my case, and then people come up and they find the lowest price, the lowest sale over the last 3 or 4 months, and they want to be below that. And then I say to myself, man, why did I get into this lane? It's not my lane, right? And now the cards are in my case this week. That couple of shows, last show, they'll be at my in my case the next show. And I say, why did you do that? And I have to remind myself. I mean, I'm here, sports card lessons. I'm talking to you, right? I'm reminding you of the mistakes I'm still making, right? And saying this is where I'm at. And people will argue me. They say, hey, if you can buy at 85%, I'll sell anything, you know, to make my 10%. But it's very difficult to do that, right? It's almost as if you got to buy it 70% or 75% on a card or a sport that is just not my lane, right? To say, look, if I'm going to get into this card, I got to get into this card so low that it's a home run when I sell it, that I'm going to get some kind of profit of it. The problem is on the backhand, right? I don't feel good about that transaction. I don't feel good. I mean, I should be embarrassed, right? Offering somebody 70% on a card, right? Or 75%. Because I'm sitting here talking about this all the time. I don't I get upset when people offer me that. So why would I offer that to somebody else, right? So now this is why I'm in that lane where if I know the sport, I can buy the card now and I could wait till this date or that date or so many, and then I know it's going to go up and I'm okay with that. But that flipping game to buy now and it just never seems to work out for me. It does, and I just don't think there's enough margin in there to do it. Now I know people who are buying in bulk, right? Buying bulk, buying lots of cards, right? It works out for them because the larger the lot, the better the percentage you're getting. I understand that. That just hasn't been my lane, right? That hasn't been what I've set out to do. I'm comfortable in doing the things I've been doing, uh, and I sleep like a baby at night, right? So sometimes I get into these situations, and I look at my case, I'm like, oh yeah, stay in your lane, stay in your lane. I'd be lucky, sometimes I'm lucky just to break even on some cards, and sometimes I lose. Basically, where I'm at now, right, on some of these cards that I have, that I've made these decisions on, kind of brings it full circle back to profit versus greed. Because on any of these cards, these basketball cards, if I get an offer anything over that I paid for them, they're sold. Thank you. I'll shake your hand. Let's get the deal done, right? And then I just say to myself, I breathe. All right, let's get back into that comfortable lane that I'm happy with. That I'm, you know, and I know I'm going to hear too. It's okay to get outside of your comfort zone, and I do, but I do it in different ways. Um, and the more and the more that I pick up cards to flip, I need that. I need that time frame. I need to put that time frame in. Um, there are times I'll buy a card for a time frame and say, I'm going to buy this card at X. I'll throw it back in my case. I don't plan on selling it. But if it sells at that price, I'm okay with that. But if not, I'm happy to hold it at a future date. I did that last weekend with the explosive Barry Sanders that I bought at the very end of the show in Yorktown Heights. And then Sunday, I was at the New Britain show. It was all the rage. Everybody was coming, making. And I said, look, I'm firm at that price. And I know they were unhappy with my firm price. But when I got Monday morning, when I got all the cards out that I acquired over the weekend and started going through for grading, and I had looked at that card the best I could, that card looked very gradable. So now that card's going to go off the PSA. I'm glad I didn't sell it. I'm glad I didn't just take that $5 or $8 or $9 on that card or $10. I'm glad I held that card because if it comes back at 10, it could really jump up. So that's more of my lane there. Switching gears, I know it's been a while since I talked about that non-sport collection that I picked up back in the fall, but I finally have gone through it all and put a document together of all the sets. They're all complete sets, and there is just a ton of them. I didn't count them out, but I think originally, I think there was like 90 or 91 complete sets of non-sports. So if you're into the non-sports and anything from TV to music to movies, there's so much, and clowns. I mean, there's so many sets in there. Uh, Reach out to me. I'd be happy to share the document with you, go through it. If there's anything in there you'd be interested in. And this is where I'm starting now. This was supposed to be my winter project, and here it is, the spring, and I finally got it done. I finally got it cataloged, and I know what I've got. So if you're into non-sports and you want to see what I have available, send me a message. I'll send you the inventory sheet. There may be something in there you've been looking for or you're interested in. Happy to discuss selling this. Next weekend, I'm traveling down to North Carolina. Don't be alarmed if there's no Sunday episode next week, because I'm next Sunday, because I'm not going to be around. If I find time during the week and I come up with something that for an episode, I may pre-record one and just drop it on Sunday. But if not, I'll be back the following week, and we'll be back Thursday with the trio for another Hobby Chop episode. I want to thank everyone for tuning in. And if you like what you hear, please definitely subscribe, and most importantly, tell a friend and spread the word. Until next time, take care of yourselves and everyone around you.